Hello and welcome to another photo editing tutorial on this channel. It's going to be a quick one again, and we're going to focus solely on Lightroom. I want to show you how you can create such an amazing atmosphere as you see in this photo solely with Lightroom tools. So you see it's foggy, misty, nice atmosphere, right? But the original photo didn't look 100% like that. There was a bit mist, there was rain, there was already some atmosphere to begin with, but it didn't look close to what you see here. And I'll show you how the before looked in a second. But first, a little announcement. Next February, I'm leading a photo tour through Morocco, 8 nights, 9 days with Wild Morocco. I've done this in the past already, and it's an amazing tour. We still have some spots available, and if you want, I leave a link in the description below to this tour. We're gonna go to the desert, to the mountains, we visit ancient cities, a lot of photo spots, and yeah, it's amazing. I've been to Morocco twice already. I go there this December to do additional scouting, so you can expect a well-prepared tour with amazing photo locations and many opportunities to take great photos. But now back to the topic of this video. We want to edit this photo. So I have other photos in this series, which I haven't yet edited the atmosphere. I'm gonna look at it now. So here's the photo without the added mist. So see, there was already some atmosphere to begin with. You also see me down here. Don't worry about it. This photo will mostly be for the background, and just ignore this little part here. So what I want to do now, I want to add some more mist, some more separation here between the trees, because there's a lot going on here, and the mist that morning, the fog was just in and out of the scene, and I couldn't capture the photo like I had intended to. So let's just start creating a new mask up here, and you see I already have a few. Let me also show you where I started. So this is the image as I started with, and then after applying some masks, we're ending up here. Also my Lightroom is a bit slow because of all those masks. Let's hope we can add another one. So I press the plus here, and now it's important, you select the brush. And the first thing I do is I make sure to brush outside of the frame here. So just a single click to activate the mask. Now I go up here and invert it, and this is now the part where I tune how the fog shall look. And how to create fog or a fog-like appearance in Lightroom, it's pretty simple. First, you bring up the blacks quite a bit. You also already see it's becoming a little hazy, this misty look, but there's still a lot of detail here. What you also do, you bring down the contrast, and very important, maybe most important, bring down the dehaze a lot actually. So really I'm going like down to 70 or 60, bring down the clarity, and you see this looks a bit horrible, but that's fine. We now also bring down the exposure, because fog is usually not that bright. It can be if there's light, but I want to go for a little more gloomy look, so let's tune the exposure to have a more mid-tone appearance for the fog. And you also see bringing down the exposure also brings the colors back in line, because before they were getting a bit too saturated. And if you find this happens, you can also tune it a bit, bring down the saturation a bit, and sometimes it's nice to give the fog either a little bit of a cooler temperature, or you can warm it up if you want to have the appearance, or if there is some light in the scene, then you can warm up the fog, because it would typically catch on some of the warm glow of the sun. Can also, if you want, bring down the highlights, up the shadows, but we're not going to play with that here. Let's now do the first important step, because we don't want to apply it to the whole scene. This doesn't look nice and also not realistic, because fog will be more dense in the background and less in the foreground. So now we click again on the invert, and everything's gone, right? That's what we want, because now we start painting it in. So the first step was just to tune the appearance of the fog we want, and now we paint it back in where we want it. So I'm gonna use a fairly big brush here, and I'll set the flow to something around 50 or even less, because then I can gradually build up the effect. And I'll just start here, and you see how it begins to get a bit misty there in the background. And I'll paint around those trees, but I'll also overlap the trees a bit. That's fine for now. We're gonna deal with that in the next step. First, I just want to brush in some fog and also make it a little more dense in this area. And you see how it builds up the atmosphere. And I won't paint down here, because that's very close to me. There typically wouldn't be fog, or there is fog, but not that visible. So around this branch here, a bit down here, just building up the effect, and up here a bit where it's that bright, and down here. And if you went a bit too far an area, just hold down Alt. You see now we have a minus brush. so you can take out a bit of it. And we're now gonna make use of that principle to spare out the trees. So the closed trees, we want to have those not shrouded in fog. So what we can do now, press down Alt. Now we tune the minus brush, the subtract brush, make it roughly the size of a tree here. And here you see, should have maybe also deactivated the auto mask before, so let's remove it. So when you paint with a plus and move in the brush, you should maybe leave out the auto mask. So I forgot to deactivate it because I had it on before. This makes it more natural first, but it can also help because it already spares out the trees. But when you do the minus brush now and you want to spare out those trees, subtract the effect on those, then it's important to use the auto mask. And this is also why this technique works very well in Lightroom, because Lightroom has this feature. So I will now also increase the flow a bit and go along this tree, and you see this spares out the form of the tree very well, and you get a very convincing effect here. Also down here, I want to subtract it here from this branch, and this gives the image a very three-dimensional look. I got down with the flow a bit because here those branches are a little further back. I still want to reduce the effect, but not so much as for this foreground branch here. And that's the principle now. First we added in fog, and now we take it out from the branches step by step. And you have to decide, okay, those branches are a little farther away, those are closer. And for the closer ones, you remove more of the effect now. For example, this one here, you go over it a few times. And for the ones that lean more into the background, you keep more of the fog. And that's the principle now. It's a little manual work here, but yeah, you can still do this pretty quickly, especially if you have a fast Mac or PC, not like I have, especially not after adding so many masks. Okay, so now let's have a look at the before and after. Just gonna click on the mask now, or on this eye icon to deactivate for a second. This was before, and this is with the fog. Now you see, it could be a bit too much now. That's fine, we don't have to keep it like that. We have the amount slider, which you can now use to fine-tune it. So you can go down with the amount, gradually build up the fog to a value you like. For example, if I go down to around 20%, there won't be much fog in the image. Instead, if I go up to like 160, it's too much. So we started here with 100. So I'm gonna bring it down just a touch, maybe to 85, and fine-tune it a bit. And that's it with the technique I wanted to show you. Obviously, you can spend much more time on it. You can also go in now and also fine-tune the settings. So maybe after all, I want to make it warmer. Let's see how this looks. So you bring up the temperature, or you want to make it very cool, bring down the temperature. So this fine-tuning you can also do afterwards. Okay, so I hope you like this technique. Also, I'm currently working on a little preset pack for Lightroom. Believe it or not, I'm also doing this now. And those presets will not be the typical ones where you just click a button and you get an image that looks completely different to what you started with. It's more like a system, so where you can get many tools, mostly masks, with one click of a button, and they're all prepared, and you can just start selectively working on your photo. So I try to replicate a bit the workflow I had or have in Photoshop in Lightroom with that, and I figured I make a preset set for myself first. I use it for a few weeks, month, fine-tune it, and at some point I'm going to release it together with a tutorial. But for that, you have to stay tuned. It's going to take a little more time. Till then, I'm going to continue to share a little post-processing tricks and tips with you. So see you in the next one. Bye.